I've totally got this midway point best Toypixx figure of the year locked up.
I don't know how to tell you this, Batman, but you didn't come out in 2022.
That's okay. Just give me preparation time.
Time for what?
To build a time machine.
Yeah, that's not how these lists work.
Why not? Iron Man built one.
Yeah, but Iron Man has a huge multi-billion-dollar successful movie studio behind him that produces hit after hit. Unhindered, unhinged. They can't be stopped. Whereas you, sadly, you're still owned by Warner Brothers.
Whatever, Paramount.
Touché. Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave and this is Toypixx, and if you've been watching for a while you know the drill, but if you haven't, Toypixx is all about helping you and helping me get a whole lot better at our action figure photography. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and click subscribe while I describe what's going on here. Now, here's the deal with this list. I wanted to do a top 10 midway point 2022 figures of the year video. But here's the problem, I've only gotten 9 figures that are 2022. Now I've gotten 3 that are earlier that I went back and got, so I'm going to throw them in here, 2 of which are as honorable mentions. Now I know I talk about action figure photography, the reason I get these figures is they all look awfully good under the lights and in front of the lens. So let's start off with these 2 honorable mentions right here. We have the Incinerator Trooper. Now he's the only one I have, but the fact is I love that Stormtrooper mold from Black Series, so I have several of those. Figure I needed just one of these, and I'm pretty excited to have him. But the fact is, he's still just basically a recolor. So I didn't really want to put him on the list of the top 10 or anything like that. And then we've got the Cobra Trooper. This is my bar none favorite army builder figure. But again, I've got a few of them. I didn't want to put them on the top 10. There's actually only one figure from before 2022 that is in the top 10, and you can probably figure out who that is from the intro. But with these 2 out of the way, let's move on to number 10. In at number 10 is the NECA Mirage Studios Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fugitoid. Now I've been super stoked for this line to really get started and to really kick off, and they kicked it off with this guy, which he is very cool. He does everything a Fugitoid should do, so I'm not going to judge him on that. But I wish NECA had come out with just a more standard figure, because I don't really have NECA stuff, and I'd like to see kind of how they move around. But this guy's really cool. I know when he was released, people were a little upset about his paint, but they kept calling it cell shading, and that's not really accurate. What was going on here is, because NECA doesn't really do the whole metal look so much with their paints, it seems, they wanted to paint it up so it had a metallic look, kind of comic booky to it. And I think they succeeded pretty well. So honestly, as much as I wish NECA had given us kind of a more standard figure for the first one to kick off this line, I am awfully happy with the Fugitoid. In at number 9 is the G.I. Joe Classified Alley Viper. Now, this guy is just cool. I don't know what to say about him that word just doesn't cover. I love the orange and blue. It's a real callback to way back when. Like I say many times, I don't need all 80s all the time, but there are some designs, especially on the Cobra side, that to me feel kind of timeless and kind of just insane enough to happen most any time. And this guy has one of those designs. He kind of, being an alley viper, you would think he'd be really dark and all that, but he has this look in my head kind of, go ahead, mess with me. I'm wearing orange, I'm blue, I'm easy to see, doesn't matter, you can't stop me, I'm rad. And he comes with all kinds of weapons. Really dig this guy. Great addition to Classified. Really, really loving that line. And words that are lame? Really? In at number 8 is the only figure I have from Valaverse so far. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Duster. So what puts him on the list right now? Well, he's nearly as well articulated as G.I. Joe's, and in some respect, he's better articulated, where he has this bend in the middle. The way that that's designed is a lot better than several G.I. Joe figures because they have it all the way down to the belt, which really restricts movement. So I'm geeked about him for that. I'm geeked about all the hands and weapon accessories he comes with. He's just insanely awesome because of that almost on its own. Remember, the hands and heads make figures insanely photogenic. And Valaverse figures come with them like mad. The only thing I will say about Valaverse right now, I just can't go full on into the line yet. We're waiting for Toypixx to take off and go nuts, and then you better believe these guys are going to be a big part of the collection. One area that it does not quite reach classified levels, and I'm saying this because I bet Bobby could make it happen, is the base of the neck doesn't have any articulation, so the head feels a little more limited than a lot of the G.I. Joe classified figures. But I think they could fix that, and I think that would be just incredibly stellar when it comes to the Action Force line. In NumberSeven, we have the SH Figuarts Boba Fett from The Mandalorian. Now, I love this thing. This was one of my very first SHF Star Wars figures, the other being Mando, and he's just incredible. He doesn't look completely accurate to the source material, I have to say that, but he still somehow just looks right. The finish on the costume, when you look at it, it's not shiny, it's kind of dull like it was in the show. His articulation is insane. The figure looks incredible in front of the lens, but what keeps this somewhat expensive figure so low on the list? Well, give me a minute and I'll show you. It is this. Look at this head. See if we can zoom in there a little bit. Look at that thing. The reason I was so excited about that SHF Boba Fett is this head sculpt, because easily it's the best looking head sculpt out there. The sculpt is phenomenal. And then they went and gave him cross eyes. That, ladies and gentlemen, makes me sad. Keep in mind, I like all these figures. Every figure I buy, I'm very picky, and I only go for the ones that I think I'm really going to dig. And so far, I'm 100% in 2022, but there are things that bug me, and one of the things that really bugs me about this year is the fact that they just couldn't get his eyes looking forward. In at number 6 is the G.I. Joe Classified Battle Android Trooper. So why is he a little higher on the list when a figure like the Alley Viper is a little lower? This guy truly comes with everything he needs. When you're a robot, when you're an android, you don't need fists. You don't need things like that. You just need the stuff that is basically weapons of mayhem. He's got his flamethrower, his claw, his gun, his little... maybe is that a drill or a gun? I don't know. He's got both his hands. This guy is just loaded. And he's frightening. He's got all kinds of stuff. He's got a head that is actually not beat up. He has a cover, 2 covers to go over that middle section. One is beat up, one's clean. He's just a really good looking figure. He hits me in the nostalgia feels. I'm a big fan. He is a great classified figure, and I can't wait to see what else I can get in 2022 from this line. And now we've hit the top 5, starting with number 5, the Cobra Officer from G.I. Joe Classified. Now, I know that the Bat is the hotness for the year so far when it comes to army builders, but as you know, I'm a huge Cobra Trooper fan, and this guy has quite a bit of redeco from that, remolds, got a totally new vest piece, a different helmet. He's just got his own character. He comes with a gun that basically looks like an AK-47, which takes you way back to the 80s again. He's just that cool, and you could argue recency bias, but when your favorite army builder is the Cobra Trooper, every repaint/remold you get your hands on, especially if it's been modified as much as this guy, yeah, you're gonna put him pretty high on the list, and that's no different than me throwing this guy up there. Look for a real review of him next week. Coming in at number 4 with perhaps my most controversial pick, I suppose, especially considering he's this high up, is the SH Figuarts Mandalorian Din Djarin with Grogu. Now, I know a lot of people aren't big fans, but I gotta tell you, the reason I place a figure like this as high as I do is because of how good he looks under the lights. It just doesn't get much shinier than that. His articulation's great, but I'm the first to admit I have to make concessions to have him this high on the list. I had to get a neck peg from John Walker Customs to raise his head a little bit. I have to just understand that in the show, the spear's gone and the rifle's gone because they're a pain to make work on the figure, and then a couple little niggles, something will fall off and I have to put it back on. But the thing is, I come at it from a photography point of view, and this guy just looks so good under the lights that I had to put him at number 4. Oh, and there's also Grogu. At number 3, we have the only figure that wasn't produced in 2022 to make this list, and that is the Batman from Batman Hush in black. Now here's the thing, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I loves me some Moffex. Any other year, this guy probably would have been number 1. In fact, when the blue version of this came out, he was my figure of the year. I love this figure, I love this line, but the fact is, he's just a repaint that came with a gargoyle base instead of a Bruce Wayne head, and the cape works a little better than the blue one, but really, as much as I dig him, I just couldn't, in good conscience, put him at the number 1 spot. Coming in at number 2 now is the SH Figuarts Luke Skywalker from The Mandalorian. Now, why is he 2? Because I digs me some Luke. Well, number 1, the number 1 figure is perfect, but number 2, this figure doesn't actually represent what he's supposed to represent. This is supposed to be the Mandalorian Luke Skywalker, so the way he looked at the end of Season 2. But what he is, once you take off the robe there, the Jedi robe, is a perfect Luke Skywalker for Return of the Jedi. Now that said, I love this figure because of that. The cloak itself, the robe, it's kind of a mess to play with. I do try, but it's not easy to mess around with. But the figure himself, it's the best Mark Hamill likeness that's ever been done as far as I can tell. Let's see here. Look at that. I mean, that is the man right there. That looks great. And when you take this thing off, whoo! Look at that guy. That is definitely your Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker. He's a great looking figure. He moves really well. He has cool articulation in his shoulders that really allows his arms to move well. I'm just a big fan of this, and it brings back all the nostalgic feels, so of course that's going to have an impact on my choice, but to me, this is actually, without the cloak, without the robe, and without sitting there and thinking of this as the Luke Skywalker from The Mandalorian, the absolute perfect 1/12 scale Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. And at number 1, to the surprise of no one who's been watching the channel for any length of time, is the 3-0 MDLX Bumblebee. Now, I'd been out of Transformers for a while. I picked up some of those Studio Series 86 figures, and they just didn't do it for me. Hasbro's Transformers, to me, they don't feel that great. They feel like tolerances are funky, all that. I know they transform, but they don't even feel like they do that without almost thinking, man, I'm going to snap this thing. But this thing, my first ever 3-0 figure, it's got enough hands to be perfect for Bumblebee. It doesn't need tons. It's got the little cuter head for the G1 cartoon, but hey, the head I have on him right now is the one that's more like the toy, and I prefer that look. He's got that gun, all the weathering, the articulation on this thing is insane. And he's tiny, he's like 4 3/4 inches tall. Just the way he is engineered is absolutely remarkable, and he's gonna stay here, probably for a while at number 1, until something comes along that's just so incredible I can't deny how cool it is. But right now, this guy's number 1 with a bullet. Bring on. Optimus Prime. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my top 10, with a couple honorable mentions, list of the action figures that I have picked up so far at the midway point in 2022. Comment below, let me know what some of your favorite figures are that you've picked up in 2022, and let me know what you think of the figures that I've picked up. I'm just curious, and I always want to know what you guys are getting, because hey, maybe it's something I need as well when I get to hide from the wallet. As always, I'll be leaving links in the video description below for several of these figures. If it's an Amazon affiliate link, you can click on that, check out the figure, and even if you don't get the figure, you can do all your shopping on Amazon. That'll help out the channel, so please remember that on Prime Day on July 12th and the 13th, when you decide to start shopping on Amazon, please remember that you can go to any Amazon link that I pick up, and that'll help out the channel insanely, just as much as it helps out that all of you are watching my content. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the subscribes, the comments, the likes. It warms the heart of this crazy Photo Dave guy that you're hearing through the mic right now. So with that said, everybody, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.